What's going on, y'all? I'm your ordinary brown guy. I know it's been a while since my last video, but in today's video we're going to be transforming my 24-inch pedestal sink in our bathroom to a 24-inch vanity. Now this vanity that I have in behind me is in white. I bought it from Canadian Tire. It's the Canvas brand. But we're going to be transforming it into a darker color before we actually put it out. As you can see right now, it's a very flat white color with the herringbone design on the front panels. But we're going to be coloring it darker brown, as well as trying out the wood grain texturing with the tool that I have for that to see how well it turns out. We're going to start off by opening this bad boy up and preparing all the panels for painting. So I've already gone ahead and emptied the box, so I'm going to move that out and get all the pieces before we start sanding down the pieces, preparing for the paint coating. So before we get started, there's going to be a couple of things you're going to need to purchase beforehand so you're ready for this project. The first thing I would definitely recommend is getting yourself a sander. I have my Milwaukee sander, as well as a bunch of different grits sandpaper, such as 80, 120, and 220. So I can work my way down to a nicer product. A couple batteries for my Milwaukee sander. And then what you're going to need is your paint and your stain. Now the paint's going to go down first, and that's where you're actually going to start using your tool. You're also going to want to purchase this tool right here. It's the wood grating tool. I picked this up from Princess Auto. It was only $5. So we're going to use that to get the wood grain texture along these panels after they've been painted. So paint goes down first. You're going to use the tool to give it the grain, and then once it dries, you're going to go through with a stain to get it to the color that you want. I'm going to start off with a lighter brown color. It's called the Cloak Brown from Seco. And then for the stain, I've gone an espresso brown gel stain, which I'm going to use to color it up to the color that I wanted. So that's how we're going to get started, guys. We're going to start by sanding it down. It's going to be a long process, but we're going to get through it.
The entire sanding process for this vanity took about an hour and a half, and I started using 80 grit sandpaper. I didn't end up going down to the 120 or 200 grit for a finer sand finish, just because I was going over it with paint and stain after. Getting it down to a really smooth surface isn't necessary, especially with the wood grain that you're going to be putting on. You won't be able to tell. So just stick with the coarser sandpaper. It'll allow you to get through the sanding process much quicker, but it's definitely necessary to sand it down so that your paint and stain stick properly to the vanity.
Now that we got all the screws out, the middle herringbone portion actually pops right out, so that's nice. And now we can finish sanding it down before the paint job. It'll be a lot easier this way. I'm going to do the same with the second panel, and that way we're good to go. Alright, that's the last piece. We're done sanding now. What we're gonna do is wait for the dust to settle in this room before we start painting. But what I'd like to show you guys up close is the tool that I purchased. I'm really excited because I saw this tool on Facebook, people doing projects with it, but just dust it off here because it's a little dirty in this shop right now. So this wood graining tool that I purchased, it was only $5 again from Princess Auto, but I've seen people use this to get wood grain effect. You can use it on MDF, you can use it on drywall even. But how it works is you put down your paint or your stain and then glide over top with this, and it's supposed to provide a wood grain look. So it's going to give it the motif of wood without being real wood. The paint that I got is this Seco and it's Cloak. So that's the color that it's going to come out. It's a dark brown color. But Seco was actually on sale at Rona Plus. It was 30% off this week. And this is coming into Easter weekend, so I'm glad I went and picked this up. It only cost me $20. Then what I did go and get is a really good quality gel stain. I did get this in the espresso color. This is by Vanity. Also got this at Rona Plus, and this one cost me 20 bucks also. So a much smaller quantity, but this goes a long way for stain. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the paint, then use the tool to get the wood grain look. Once it's dried, then we'll go over it with the darker gel stain to get that good wood finish on top. So let's get to it, guys. So I've just cracked open the paint, and that's kind of the base color that we're going for. It's like a lighter chocolatey brown. And then we'll follow up with the darker espresso stain. So we're gonna give it a go. I've picked out my piece right now. It's this, just a small piece to get started. I'm gonna do the back of the front panel there. It's a small surface. This is my first time doing this kind of project, so we're gonna give it a go on this smaller one before we start the rest of it. So I've gone ahead and opened up my tool, and I'm going to be using this wide one because I have a nice open surface. There is a narrower tool that came with it that I won't necessarily need. So that's the narrower one for smaller, tighter spaces. But because this is an open canvas, I can use the bigger one to just go through it with it. This set also came with this triangle one, which has different sides with different patterns that you would be able to scrape the wood pattern on with if you liked it and make your own designs. But I'm going to be sticking with the main tool just to see what it's going to look like. We're going to put on some latex glove or some Kevlar gloves just to keep the paint off our hands. Good thing I did that because I've already got paint all over my hands. But all it says to do is we're going to apply the paint, and while it's still wet, we're going to use the tool. So let's give that a go. I just have a foam roller on right now, but if you have a cloth one, that'll work perfectly fine as well. We're gonna go over with our tool. So it says to start like this and then kind of flick your wrist with it to get different designs. We're gonna give that a go. So it actually looks pretty good. The white undercoat's probably it's showing through a little more than I would like, but because we're going to stain it after this is dried, it's going to allow it to darken up those spots. So we're going to just keep doing. And that's it. It's really simple to use, and we got a pretty decent look to it right now. It does look a lot more woody compared to what it was. So we'll just do the rest of the pieces and then let them dry before we go ahead and stain them. We do still have to paint the sides of the board and the back of the board, but we'll have to do it in steps. You definitely want to put it on a little thicker than normal because I'm just doing one coat. That way it gives the nice streaks from the wood grain tool. I also got a small little brush to kind of just help with the corners and the small faces. It'll be very difficult to get wood grain in the corners just because of the tool. It's not really made for corners. So those areas, probably not the most essential anyways, but you won't be able to get the wood grain effect in there unless you paint it on manually, which is not something I'm going to be doing.
So while recording, I did realize that leaving the underlay of white and only using one coat of paint makes the wood grain look a lot more prevalent. Now I just wanted that in the video to show you guys how well the wood graining tool does work. It does provide a really good effect. I did eventually go back and put a second coat of paint down and then ran the tool again before staining. Like I said, this was left in the video just for informational purposes to show you guys how the tool works. So I've gone ahead and put on a second coat for all my pieces. The reason being is because this was an underlay of white originally, the white really shows through when you start doing your designing. So second coat on, and once you put the second coat, then you can start using the tool. So all you have to do is kind of just trail it down, and you can swivel it however you want, and it'll get a nice design on there. You do want to do this while it's still wet. I let mine dry out a little too much here, so I'm gonna just wet it up a little. There. And you just keep doing this for the entire board. And it actually leaves a pretty nice looking wood design to it. That's all it is you keep going back and forth or through all your pieces, and it does have a very nice look to it right now. Yeah, I've only got a couple more pieces to do, then I gotta wait for them to dry before I flip them and do the other side, and then I will stain them. But that's basically it. You just keep going through all the pieces. It does look really nice once you get it down. So I'm just working on the front panels right now, and what I'm gonna do is, because these two holes that came on here are for the stock handles that came with the canvas Vanity, I actually want to make my distance a little further because I have different handles that I want to use for this one. This one's currently set at 4 inch. I need 5 inch to make my handles work. So what I've got right here is this mahogany colored wood putty that I picked up. It cost about I forget how much it was, $7 or something, but you use this to fill in the holes, let it dry, and then it's paint ready. So I'm gonna fill in the two bottom holes on both these pieces, and then I can drill second holes to where I need them for my handles. So it's not going to make it completely disappear, but it's going to make it harder to see for sure, which is all I can do really. You could of course also use normal drywall filler, I'm sure. That'll work to fill in the hole. It's just a little harder to paint over. I'm gonna go drill for my new handle spacing, and then I'm gonna finish up some painting. We'll catch you guys in a bit. So for this part, you definitely want to be wearing gloves. I got these Kevlar ones on. Any nitrile gloves will work as well. Get yourself a rag. This is a microfiber cloth that I'm using to apply the stain, and then have your stain on hand. You basically want to work pretty fast, wiping it on, and then just leave it on if you're planning to keep it nice and dark. But we're just going to keep working through the pieces to make sure that we got the look that we're wanting.
To get into those corners, getting a foam brush is going to be helpful. Make sure it's dry, not with much paint on it. So I'm just going to get the paint off and then just take a little of it just to get into those corners. That's really it. Make sure to get the edges while you're doing it. You want to get the entire thing so you don't have to flip it multiple times. Get as much as you can done. And that's the second piece. I'm gonna start just going through the rest of them, guys, and we'll catch back up once they're all done. So just a quick comparison after the stain. This is the color that we're going for right here versus before the stain. So this is very much like an undercoat. Once the stain's on, you do see some nice streaks of the undercoat underneath, but the overall color is much darker than this espresso stain color. It's a big difference. I do really like this dark color. You can see the grain from the wood underneath, and the darker color just gives it a better tone in general for what we're looking for in that bathroom. So we're all done staining all the pieces. Just gonna wait for them to dry, but they're looking really good. I really like this color. Once they're dried up, I'll begin the assembly process and you guys will get to see what it looks like. Here's just a close-up of the grain. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what this is going to look like once I assemble everything. I'll show you guys a before and after of what we purchased versus what we ended up getting after the revamping this Vanity from Canvas. Alright y'all, so here's the finished product. It took a little while longer than I would have liked to finish it off, but the stain is on there. It just needs a little cleanup. Right now I just have the countertop sitting on top. We do have to still caulk this down and put it into place right now in the bathroom, but we're going to leave it be as it is for now. I really don't recommend this canvas brand. It looks like, yeah, this canvas brand, it's very shoddy. It's not very good quality, but it does look a lot better than what it came stock, with this color touch up as well as the wood motif on it. If you guys are interested in seeing the rest of this install when I put it into the bathroom, I'm gonna have another video coming up about that, where we're gonna paint the bathroom and reinstall the vanity and remove the one that's currently in there. That's all I have for you guys today. If you guys liked this video or found what I did helpful, something that you can do in one of your projects coming along, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I have a lot more videos coming up for house renovations that I've planned. This is just one of the many. If you guys are interested, definitely subscribe, because you'll see the project coming up for the vanity change out in our bathroom, where this will be going into place. I'm your ordinary brown guy. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace.